Well, hi, everybody, and welcome into the latest edition of the In the Bullseye Podcast. I'm voice of the Bulls, Paul Peck, and a chance for us to introduce all the Bulls fans to the new defensive coordinator who is new in his job, but a familiar face. He is Brian Dougherty, moving up from the safeties and nickelbacks coach to defensive coordinator. Congratulations on the move.
Thank you, Paul.
How big a deal is this? I mean, it's a big deal. You're the defensive coordinator now, but having been on the staff for a couple of years, having coached in the secondary, what's this transition like for you?
I think just the day-to-day is the biggest thing. As a position coach, you're really focused on your position group, and as a coordinator, you got to see things from a big picture standpoint. Just the rhythm and routine day-to-day, running the meetings, what we're going to be doing in the meetings, running the unit meetings, all that stuff is probably the biggest difference.
Have you been a coordinator or like a coordinator in any of your other previous stops, or is this the first time you have to figure out all that administrative kind of stuff?
No, I have been, which has been helpful. It's not completely new to me. I was a defensive coordinator before I came to Buffalo, and so the job isn't foreign to me. So having that experience has definitely helped so far.
Again, a lot of this, aside from designing how you want to play defense and implementing that, a lot of it is now instead of standing up in front of 8 or 10 guys, you're standing up in front of 30 or 40 guys. Is that one of the biggest challenges?
It is, but I think it's also the fun part of the job to me, because this is something I've been dreaming about a long time to get this opportunity. This is an opportunity that doesn't come along very often, and so yes, you're talking to a larger group of people, but I think the thing that I'm excited about is that I get to do it, and we had a unit meeting this morning, and that was my first opportunity to talk to the entire defense and just set the standards and the expectations. So it's been exciting.
We'll talk in a moment about how you being new and all of your players mostly being new might actually help the transition. But what I wanted to get to first was you were here for 2 years as the defensive backs coach under then defensive coordinator Joe Bowen. So a groundwork has somewhat been laid for what Coach Lembo wants his defense to do, how they want to play. How much Joe's defenses had a lot of success.
Right.
So how much do you walk in and go, 80% of what we did is going to stay the same, I want to change 20, or is it going to be even more drastic than that?
Yeah, first off, I want to say, Joe Bowen did a great job, and he's not only professionally someone that I'm close with, but off the field as well. And, he set the standard here for sure in terms of how we want to play defense. So I really appreciate the time that we had together here. But, I think the big thing is, like you said, Joe laid what we did here, and there's been a groundwork that's been laid, and there's a good foundation. Our guys understand what we do here on defense. So it really doesn't matter what I know or our coaches know. It's a matter of what our players know. And so, we're going to try to really keep things the same. For the most part, there'll be some subtle tweaks along the way, I'm sure. We're diving into it as a staff right now. We have new coaches, so that process is ongoing. But I think the biggest thing that I try to get across to the guys is, it really doesn't matter what we do on defense if we don't play the game the right way, if we don't play with great fundamentals, if we don't play with great technique, if we don't play with great effort. We can try to do all these elaborate schemes, but if we're not playing the game the right way, then it really doesn't matter.
Tell Bowen I said that you can say, hey, thanks for the opportunity for me to move up, but really, no Dolak, no Murdoch, no Crawford. This is what you're leaving me with?
There's no doubt. But, I'm confident in the guys that we have coming back, too. And, we've got a lot of young guys. There's a lot of opportunity. They're hungry. They want to prove themselves. So I think that's also it's a great opportunity for the guys.
So that leads me to the question that I alluded to. You're new. There's going to be some of the same, but some of it's going to be different. Does that make it easier for you as a new defensive coordinator when the bulk of the players on defense are new as well? It's not like you have to reteach most of the guys coming back. They're learning it like you're learning it.
Right, and I think that's the fun part too to me is you get to you're starting from ground zero when you're trying to build everything back up. And, there are guys here that understand the defense. Now, we do have a lot of new players, but I think what we do here on defense, like the foundation of what we do, is very, very sound, and we believe in it here as a coaching staff. So I think it's just one of those things where you're going to install what your players can handle, right? If it's more, great. If it's not, then great. But it's like, what are we good at too? And then you kind of tweak things based off what your guys can handle.
How much, we saw mostly a 4-2-5 nickel back-based defense was kind of the primary. You did some things with the linebackers where you moved Crawford around a little bit. Is it going to be similar to that when people kind of look on the field and see the defense, or you going to a 3-4 or something a little bit more dramatic?
Yeah, no, I think we're going to be a 4-down front, and I don't want to give everything away.
I know you
Paul,
don't,
but,
of course not.
It's going to be a 4-down front. We're going to be multiple. That's what I would tell you is we're gonna try to put our guys in the best positions to be successful, whatever that may be. But the baseline of it is going to be a 4-down front, and then depending on what our personnel looks like, putting guys in the right spots.
All right, speaking of personnel, as we talked about, like there are not a lot of guys coming back, but who are some of the veterans that you think you're going to lean on a little bit? Maybe some of the names that Bulls fans will recognize when you say them, and I know it's early in this process, but who are some of maybe the new names that you think are going to be guys that you're going to rely on pretty heavily?
Yeah, I think up front, the first guy that comes to my mind is Cornell Evans, a guy that's played a lot of football here for us. Great person, guy that works at it. Great guy. Love being around him. And then you have, you really go to the linebacker room, and that's obviously where we've lost a lot of guys. So, we have a lot of new players in that room. But I do think we have, 2 redshirt freshmen and George Hill and Bradley Alunga-Baselli that are guys that have been here that, I think I'm excited to see how they take the next step in the system. And then when you go to the back end, that's probably where we have the most experience
right.
back. You have at corner, Keontae Bradley, Kobe Blackwell, and then you have a number of guys in that room that we think are going to be able to help us. And then, from a safety perspective, Miles Greer, who played all 3 positions last year. He played nickel on 3rd down. He played both field and boundary safety. John Keogh, who played a little bit last year. Ronell Davis. And so there's a lot of guys, that are in the mix.
This is not me teeing you up to curry favor with you, but the defensive backfield was kind of the unit that took a big step up last year, right? Your coaching had a lot to do with it.
Exactly.
That's me sucking up
right.
to the new defensive coordinator. But just as you look back on last year on what that unit was able to do and now what you can do moving forward, how much progress was there and what are the next steps?
Yeah, I think the biggest progress was, it was year 1 to year 2, and the guys got better in the system. We had a lot of older players that had played a lot of football, and I think we did a good job of identifying what we struggled with in the offseason and did a really nice job of emphasizing that, and the guys really bought into it, and they believed in what we were doing. And I think that, to move forward, we just got to continue to build on that. One thing that was big for us in the back end was we gave, I think, 60-plus explosive plays, 20 yards or more in 2024. We only gave 41 this year. And so when you look at when you don't give up a big play or an explosive play up on a drive, the percentage of the offense scoring a touchdown or scoring points is dramatically low. And then when, they do get an explosive play, how much that goes up. So I think that's the thing I know we're going to continue to emphasize is, keeping the ball inside and in front, staying on top, and eliminating explosive plays.
A lot of your background, Brian, is at smaller schools at lower division levels. Now that you're a Division I FBS defensive coordinator, how much do you look back on some of those experiences at the smaller places? How much have they helped mold who you are as a coach now?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. For me, the coaching hasn't been that much different, but I've had a lot of opportunities to work for a lot of good people and along those stops. And, you know, I've had a lot of guys that have poured a lot into me, and they've really done a good job developing me. And, you know, it's been a really good deal where, you know, I take a lot of pride in, you know, I had to wear a lot of hats at a lot of those smaller schools, and it helped me develop. And I got a lot of opportunities to coach and learn and fail, and maybe not on the biggest scale, and learn from that. And I think that's something I look back and I really appreciate.
One of those guys who poured a lot into you was Pete Lembo. You were a GA with him when Coach Lembo was at Ball State. Now you're working for him. I want you to take me back to then, Pete Lembo, and now Pete Lembo as a boss. Now that you're, you know, as assistant right below them there, kind of thing.
Trying
you
to
know,
get me in trouble. No, you know, I'm very, very grateful for Coach Lembo. So when I was, you know, I graduated college in the winter of 2012, and my first coaching job was at a small Division III school, Millikan University, in 2013. And then a GA job came open at Ball State on the defensive side of the ball. And, you know, I was very lucky. My older brother, who's also a college football coach, he was, you know, on that staff at the time, and he was the tight ends coach. And obviously having that connection with my brother, and my brother having the connection with Coach, you know, Coach took a chance on me and gave me an opportunity. And he has really helped me, you know, grow in this profession. And obviously, you know, full circle, 9 years later, he gave me another opportunity to be a Division I FBS position coach. And, you know, I'm very, very grateful. He's helped me a ton, not only, you know, growing in the profession, but just giving me opportunities.
How's Pete different from the guy you worked for back then to the guy that he is now?
You know, I wouldn't say there are some subtle differences, but the things I would say that stayed the same are just his attention to detail. Like, he's very, very organized. He has a plan. He knows what he wants to do, and he communicates it really well to the staff.
All right. Well, I'm sure you'll get a lot of communications from Pete. You know, now that you're the defense coordinator, congratulations! Excited for you, the opportunity. Excited to see what you're going to do to mold this group of young guys. You know, maybe younger than you would prefer to have, but that's the world everybody lives in now. Looking forward to see what you can do over this offseason and heading into what should be a fun 2026.
I appreciate it, Paul. Thank
Brian
you.
Dougherty is the new Bulls football defensive coordinator, and we thank him for joining us on this edition of the In the Bullseye Podcast.